The outpost was silent, except for the sound of dripping blood. Commander Yara Chen stepped cautiously through the ruins of what had once been Frontier Station Theta 9. The stench of charred metal and scorched flesh clung to the air, mixing with the acrid tang of fear. Her squad fanned out behind her, weapons raised, every shadow a potential threat. This wasn't just a massacre, it was something worse. "Commander, no survivors detected," said Lieutenant Marks, his voice tight over the comms. "At least, none that are still intact." Chen knelt beside a jagged claw mark carved deep into the floor plating. It was over a foot wide, the edges melted from sheer heat. She ran her fingers over the gash, her heart pounding. No known predator in this sector had claws that could cut through reinforced alloy like it was paper. "This wasn't a raid," she said, standing. "This was a hunt." Her words hung heavy in the air. The squad shifted uneasily, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Humanity had only recently joined the galactic stage, their tentative steps into interstellar exploration marked with awe and trepidation. They'd encountered other species, marveled at alien technology, and adapted to new ways of life. But this was something else entirely. A low growl echoed through the ruins. Chen froze, hand tightening on her pulse rifle. Her squad fell into formation, eyes scanning the darkness. The sound wasn't mechanical, wasn't anything that belonged to a ship or station. It was organic, primal. "Motion on thermal," Marks hissed. 2 o'clock. "Big. Fast." Before Chen could respond, a blur of shadow and teeth lunged from the debris. The thing was massive, its 4 muscular legs propelling it with terrifying speed. Its scales shimmered like obsidian, and its maw was lined with jagged teeth that dripped a viscous, acidic fluid. "Engage!" Chen shouted, diving to the side as the beast crashed through the squad like a wrecking ball. Pulse rifles lit up the darkness, their energy bolts scorching the creature's hide but barely slowing it. "Fall back," she barked, her mind racing. The squad scattered, seeking cover among the twisted remains of the station. Chen moved with practiced precision, her training kicking in. She fired a burst at the beast's flank, drawing its attention away from Marks, who had been cornered. The creature turned to her, its eyes glowing in eerie crimson. For a moment their gazes locked. It wasn't mindless. It wasn't just a predator. It was calculating. The beast lunged again, but this time Chen was ready. She rolled to the side, landing a direct shot to its underbelly. The creature howled in rage, but the blow seemed to do little more than anger it. "We can't take this thing down," Marks yelled, his voice tinged with panic. Chen ignored him, her focus narrowing. She studied the creature's movements, the way it anticipated their attacks, the almost human cunning in its eyes. And then it hit her. This wasn't an apex predator. It was a challenger. A hunter testing itself against new prey. As the beast roared and charged again, Chen steadied her rifle, a grim smile forming on her lips. "Wrong species to mess with," she muttered. The trap wasn't ready yet, but humanity didn't need it to make a point. She fired. The chamber of the Galactic Council was a kaleidoscope of light and sound, filled with the representatives of 24 starfaring civilizations. Holographic displays floated between them, showing projections of star charts, casualty reports, and one particularly chilling image, the Shrenthal beast. Massive and coiled in its predatory glory, the creature loomed over the ruins of Frontier Station Theta 9, its crimson eyes blazing with intelligence. The gathered leaders spoke in hushed tones, their voices tinged with fear and doubt. "Enough," boomed Overseer Kralik, his chitinous exoskeleton glinting under the chamber's glow. He was the representative of the Olimar, a species that claimed to have mastered the art of galactic diplomacy. "This creature has existed long before your fragile species ventured into the stars. It has always been our burden to endure it. Humans were foolish to confront it." At the center of the chamber, Commander Yara Chen stood tall. Her uniform, still bearing the stains and scars from the attack, was a sharp contrast to the pristine robes of the council members. "With all due respect, Overseer," Chen began, her voice steady, "humanity wasn't given much of a choice. That burden wiped out one of our outposts and slaughtered everyone stationed there. We're not the type to stand by and let that happen again." The murmurs grew louder. Some were impressed by her resolve, others dismissive. "Commander Chen," drawled Ambassador Trelith, a serpentine Zerath with emerald scales. His tone was condescending, his forked tongue flicking as he spoke. "Your species is young. You lack the history and experience to understand the threat you face. The Shrenthal beast is a force of nature, an apex predator. Even our most advanced civilizations cannot contain it." Chen raised an eyebrow. And yet, you let it roam freely? Trelith recoiled slightly, his expression shifting from smug to defensive. Kralik leaned forward, mandibles clicking in irritation. The Shrenthal cannot be stopped. We have studied it for centuries. It evolves. It adapts. Entire fleets have been lost trying to destroy it. Humanity's interference will only provoke it further. Chin let the words hang in the air for a moment before responding. Centuries of study, and you've learned nothing about how to defeat it? She paused, scanning the room. With all your advanced technology, you've only ever played defense. You've labeled it as unstoppable because it's easier to live in fear than to act. That's not how humans operate. The room erupted into arguments, but Chin held her ground, her voice cutting through the chaos. You see us as prey, she said, her eyes locking with each representative in turn. You think we're just another species for the Shrenthal to dominate. But humanity didn't become what we are by running from predators. We fought them. We outsmarted them. And when that wasn't enough, we hunted them until we were the only apex left standing. The chamber fell silent. Your arrogance will doom your kind, Trelith hissed, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Chin took a step forward, her presence commanding. We're not asking for permission. We've already begun preparations. While you sit here debating the inevitable, we'll be tracking it. Learning from it. And when the time comes, we'll kill it. A hologram flickered to life behind her, showing Earth's response. Factories producing advanced weaponry, scientists studying data from the attack, and teams of soldiers training with alien technology. Humans are more dangerous than you think, Chin continued. We've faced extinction before and won. This beast? It's just another challenge. And when we're done, it won't be humanity hiding in fear. It'll be the galaxy's predators wondering if they've made a mistake. The council watched in silence as she turned and walked away. In the shadows of the chamber, Kralik muttered to himself, his mandibles twitching nervously. They don't know what they're waking. Far away, deep in an uncharted sector, the Shrenthal beast let out a deafening roar. It felt the challenge. And it was ready. The briefing room aboard the Resolute Dawn was dimly lit, the holographic display casting shifting shadows on the walls. Commander Yara Chen stood at the center, her arms crossed as she studied the three-dimensional projection of the Shrenthal beast. It rotated slowly, its obsidian scales catching simulated light, each ridge and claw rendered in perfect detail from the data recovered at Frontier Station Theta 9. This is the most dangerous thing humanity has ever faced, she said, her voice steady but grim. But it's not invincible. Around her, a carefully selected team of Earth's brightest minds sat in silence, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Scientists, military strategists, and survival experts exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of fear and determination. Dr. Alina Voss, a xenobiologist, broke the silence. The Shrenthal is unlike any predator we've encountered. Its biological makeup is extraordinary. Adaptive regenerative abilities, an exoskeleton that can absorb and dissipate kinetic energy, and a neural system that rivals our own artificial intelligence in processing speed. She paused, gesturing to a cluster of glowing nodes near the beast's head on the hologram. Its intelligence is what makes it truly terrifying. It's not just hunting. It's learning. That's exactly why we'll win, Chin replied, stepping closer to the display. Humanity has one trait no predator can match. Our ability to adapt faster than anything we face. We're not going to run from this thing. We're going to hunt it. The room buzzed with quiet murmurs. Lieutenant Marks, seated at the far end, leaned forward. With all due respect, Commander, how do we hunt something that outmatches us in strength, speed, and intelligence? Even the Galactic Council couldn't take it down. Chen's lips curved into a thin smile. We don't fight it on its terms. We make it fight on ours. She gestured at the hologram, and the display shifted to a series of interconnected traps, tactics, and technologies. First, we'll track its movements, Chin explained. The beast has a hunting range. It's territorial, even if it's migratory. Satellite relays and cloaked drones will map its territory and identify patterns in its behavior. Once we understand its hunting cycle, we'll set the trap. Dr. Voss frowned. A trap big enough to hold a creature of this size and strength? The materials alone have already been sourced, Chin interrupted. We're repurposing gravity netting from asteroid mining operations, reinforced with molecular bonding tech. It's strong enough to hold a ship in place. And we're baiting it with the one thing it won't ignore. A challenge? Marks raised an eyebrow. A challenge? Chin nodded, her expression hard. The beast is a predator. It's drawn to anything that resists. It sees humanity as new prey, but it doesn't understand what that means. We'll use decoys, autonomous combat units outfitted to simulate human movement and emit biosignatures. The moment it engages, the trap will spring. And if it breaks free? Marks asked. Chen's smile didn't falter. That's why we're using layers. Each trap is designed to weaken it. Acidic compounds to corrode its exoskeleton, electromagnetic pulses to disrupt its neural pathways, and high-velocity projectiles targeting its weak points. The room fell silent again, the audacity of the plan sinking in. Dr. Voss broke the stillness. This plan depends on precision, Commander. One misstep, and the beast could turn on us before we're ready. Chen locked eyes with her. That's why we won't make a misstep. The hologram shifted again, this time to the beast's lair, a dense jungle planet bathed in deep red light. Chen circled the room, her gaze sweeping over her team. We've faced extinction before. Ice ages, plagues, wars. We've beaten them all because we adapt, we endure, and we fight smarter. The Shrenthal thinks it's the apex predator. It's about to learn it's wrong. The hologram flickered off and the room's lights brightened. Chen turned to face her team, her voice firm. You have 48 hours to finalize preparations. This isn't just about survival, it's about sending a message to the galaxy. Humanity isn't prey. We're the deadliest hunters they'll ever know. As the team dispersed, Chen lingered, her eyes fixed on the darkened hologram. Deep in the shadows of uncharted space, the beast was waiting. It had hunted the stars for millennia, but now the tables were turning. And humanity wasn't coming to survive. They were coming to win. The jungle world of Xyrant 5 pulsed with life, alien flora glowing faintly under the planet's red-tinged sky, and the constant drone of unseen creatures filling the air. Commander Yara Chen crouched low in the underbrush, her pulse rifle in hand, its matte black surface blending into the shadows. Her team was spread out across the terrain, their positions hidden by cutting-edge cloaking technology. Every breath, every step was measured, each movement calculated to avoid detection. Above her, camouflage drones hovered silently, feeding data back to the command hub orbiting high above the planet. The Shrenthal beast was close. They could feel it, an almost tangible presence pressing down on the environment. Thermal shows movement 200 meters northeast, Lieutenant Marks whispered over the comms. It's circling us. Chen glanced at the holographic display projected inside her helmet visor. A faint red blip marked the beast's position. It moved erratically, its path deliberate yet unpredictable, a predator toying with its prey. Hold positions, Chen replied, her voice steady. Let it come to us. It thinks it's in control. Her words were calm, but her heart raced. The Shrenthal wasn't like anything they'd faced before. Every report, every simulation had painted it as a creature of unmatched power and cunning. But what the reports couldn't convey was the sheer terror of being hunted by something so alien, so alive. A distant roar echoed through the jungle, low and guttural, vibrating the ground beneath them. The sound carried a challenge, a predator's declaration of dominance. It knows we're here, Mark said, his tone uneasy. It's testing us, Chen muttered. Stay sharp. We're hunters, not prey. The plan was simple in concept but devastatingly complex in execution. Using a combination of bait, traps, and coordinated attacks, the team aimed to weaken the beast, exploiting its limited regenerative capacity before springing the final ambush. But simplicity didn't make it safe. Every member of the team knew that one mistake could mean their deaths. Commander, bait drones are in position, Dr. Alina Voss reported from the orbiting command hub. Activating now. In the distance, the hum of mechanical movement began. The drones, humanoid in shape and emitting simulated biosignatures, moved into the clearing ahead, their heat profiles a near-perfect match for humans. They staggered, mimicking injured soldiers, their movements designed to draw the beast's attention. A moment later, the jungle went deathly silent. Here it comes, Chen whispered. Her finger hovered over the trigger, every muscle coiled like a spring. From the shadows, the beast emerged. It was even larger than the holograms had shown, its obsidian scales reflecting faint red glimmers of light. Its body rippled with power, muscles coiling under its hide like cables of steel. Glowing crimson eyes swept the clearing, locking onto the bait drones. The Shrenthal moved with terrifying precision, its bulk betraying none of the clumsiness one might expect. It struck the first drone with a single swipe of its claw, shattering the machine into fragments. Sparks flew as the second drone attempted to evade, only to be crushed under the beast's massive frame. Trap 1 ready, Marks reported, his voice tight. Wait, Chen ordered, watching the beast carefully. Let it commit. The creature's movements became more deliberate as it dismantled the third drone, tearing into it with a mix of curiosity and fury. Then, as if sensing the deception, it stopped, lifting its massive head to sniff the air. "It's onto us," Marks hissed. "Now?" Chin barked. The first trap activated. A gravity net, launched from concealed emitters, snapped into place around the beast. It roared in fury as the field locked its limbs, dragging it to the ground. But the victory was short-lived. With a surge of power, the Shrenthal flexed, its scales shimmering with energy. The net buckled, the emitters sparking and failing as it tore free. The beast spun toward Chen's position, its crimson eyes locking onto her. "It's breaking through." "Fall back," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. The team scattered as the beast charged, its roar shaking the ground. Chen dove into the underbrush, narrowly avoiding the creature's claws. Her heart pounded, but her mind stayed sharp. "Marks, activate Trap 2, she yelled, sprinting for cover. An explosive charge detonated, sending a wave of electrified shrapnel toward the beast. It staggered, its scales smoking but remained standing. For a moment, it stood still, its crimson eyes scanning the jungle. Then, to Chen's horror, it smiled, a twisted, terrifying mimicry of human expression. "This thing is learning too fast," Chen muttered, gritting her teeth. "But so are we." She keyed her comms. "Regroup at the fallback point. We're not done yet." As the team retreated, the Shrenthal's roar followed them, a chilling reminder that humanity's deadliest hunt had only just begun. "You said." The fallback position was a natural choke point, a rocky ravine surrounded by jagged cliffs and dense vegetation. The terrain, chosen deliberately, would limit the Shrenthal's movements and force it into a frontal assault. Commander Yara Chen crouched behind a boulder, her pulse rifle resting against her shoulder, eyes scanning the ridge above. The team had regrouped, their positions fortified, but the tension was palpable. "It's still out there," Lieutenant Marks whispered over the comms. "Watching us?" Chen's lips tightened. She didn't need thermal imaging or motion sensors to know he was right. The Shrenthal was patient, its intelligence far beyond that of any predator humanity had faced. It wasn't just hunting them, it was testing them, adapting to their strategies. "Let it watch," Chen replied, her voice firm. "We're done running. This is where we take the fight to it." The team's preparations were meticulous. Drones buzzed overhead, relaying a live feed to Dr. Alina Voss aboard the orbiting Resolute Dawn. Explosive charges were embedded in the cliffs, primed to rain debris on the beast. Portable electromagnetic pulse generators were hidden along the ravine walls, calibrated to disrupt its neural pathways. Every detail was accounted for. "Commander," Voss's voice came through the comms, calm but urgent. "I've analyzed the data from the previous encounter. The Shrenthal's exoskeleton exhibits localized weaknesses around its joint plates. Targeting those areas might compromise its mobility." Chen nodded. "Understood. Marks, relay that to the team. Priority targets are its joints. We slow it down, we win." The distant rustle of leaves silenced the team. The sound was faint, almost imperceptible, but it carried a weight that sent a chill down Chen's spine. "It's moving," Marks whispered. "Closing in." Chen raised her hand, signaling for silence. The jungle fell deathly quiet, the usual hum of alien fauna extinguished by the predator's presence. The Shrenthal wasn't just an apex predator, it was fear incarnate. And then it appeared. The beast emerged from the foliage, its obsidian scales glinting like polished armor. Its crimson eyes locked onto Chen's position, and for a moment she felt the full weight of its gaze. It was enormous, its form radiating raw power, but it was the intelligence in its eyes that unnerved her. This wasn't a creature acting on instinct, it was a calculated killer. "Hold," Chen ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. The Shrenthal advanced, each step deliberate, its claws raking the ground with a sound like screeching metal. It moved with eerie confidence, as if it already knew the outcome of the encounter. "Now?" Chen barked. Explosive charges detonated along the cliffs, sending a cascade of rocks crashing down. The beast roared in fury, its body battered by the falling debris, but it didn't falter. Instead it surged forward, its speed belying its massive frame. "EMP generators, activate," Chen commanded. A wave of electromagnetic energy rippled through the ravine, striking the Shrenthal mid-charge. The beast stumbled, its movements jerky as the pulse disrupted its neural pathways. The team opened fire, targeting its joints with precision. Energy bolts slammed into its exoskeleton, cracking the armored plates around its limbs. The Shrenthal howled, a sound that echoed through the ravine, shaking the very ground beneath them. It reared back, its claws swiping through the air, but it was slower now, its movements less coordinated. "It's working," Mark shouted. "Keep the pressure on." But just as hope began to rise, the beast adapted. Its scales shimmered, absorbing the energy from the attacks, and with a powerful lunge, it leapt onto the cliffside. Clinging to the rock face, it let out a guttural roar, its crimson eyes scanning for a new approach. "It's going for the high ground," Chen realized. "Focus fire. Don't let it escape." The team unleashed a barrage of firepower, but the beast was relentless. It clawed its way upward, its strength undiminished by the damage it had taken. Chen's mind raced. They couldn't let it gain the advantage. "Voss, override the orbital platform," she ordered. "Bring the rail cannon online. Target the cliff above the beast." "Commander, that's a direct strike," Voss replied, alarmed. "You're in the blast radius." "Do it," Chen snapped. "We don't get another chance." Pause. Then, "Understood." Firing in 3, 2, 1. The sky lit up as a streak of plasma tore through the atmosphere. The impact was catastrophic. The cliff exploded in a blinding flash, sending rock and debris cascading down. The Shrenthal roared one last time before being buried beneath tons of rubble. The team held their breath as the dust settled. For a long moment there was only silence. Then from beneath the debris a faint growl echoed. "It's still alive," Chin said, her jaw clenched. But not for long. She stood, gripping her rifle tightly. The hunt wasn't over. Not yet. The rubble shifted. Slowly at first, then violently as the Shrenthal beast clawed its way to the surface. Its once imposing form was battered and broken. Deep cracks spiderwebbed its obsidian exoskeleton, glowing faintly with internal heat. The crimson eyes that had once burned with predatory intelligence were dim, their light flickering like dying embers. But it was alive and it wasn't done fighting. Commander Yara Chen stood at the edge of the crater, pulse rifle in hand, her gaze unyielding. Around her, the surviving members of her team formed a loose perimeter, weapons trained on the beast. Their exhaustion was palpable, their armor scorched and dented, their movements slow. But there was no retreat in their eyes, only resolve. "It's weaker now," Lieutenant Mark said, his voice rasping through the comms. "We've got it cornered." Chin didn't respond immediately. She watched as the beast struggled to rise, its movements sluggish but deliberate. Despite its injuries, it still radiated a terrifying aura, a predator that refused to surrender. "Commander," Dr. Elena Voss's voice crackled from the orbiting Resolute Dawn. "The beast's regenerative abilities are failing. This is the closest it's ever come to being defeated. But it's still dangerous. One wrong move." "I know," Chin interrupted. "We finish this now." The beast turned its gaze to her and for a moment they locked eyes. There was no fear in its expression, no desperation. It was a look of recognition, almost respect. It knew what she was. Not prey. Not a challenger. A predator. Chin stepped forward, the barrel of her rifle leveled at the beast. "You've terrorized the galaxy for centuries," she said, her voice steady. "Made entire civilizations cower in fear. But today that ends." The beast let out a low growl, its massive frame shaking as it prepared for one final attack. Chin didn't flinch. Her team tensed behind her, fingers on triggers, waiting for her command. "Hold fire," she ordered, her voice cutting through the tension. "This is mine." Marks hesitated. "Commander, you can't." "That's an order, Lieutenant." Chin advanced alone, her boots crunching over broken stone. The beast watched her, its movements halting, as if it understood the gravity of the moment. When she was close enough, it lunged. Time seemed to slow. Chin sidestepped the attack with a precision born of years of training, her rifle coming up in one fluid motion. She fired, the energy bolt striking the beast's exposed joint. It roared in pain, its limb buckling, and she pressed the advantage. Every shot was calculated, every movement precise. She targeted the weakened areas Voss had identified, chipping away at the creature's defenses. The beast lashed out wildly, its claws raking the ground, but Chin was always one step ahead. Her focus was unbreakable. The final shot came almost anticlimactically. A single bolt to the center of the beast's skull. The crimson glow of its eyes flickered, then dimmed entirely. It collapsed with a heavy thud, the ground shaking beneath its weight. Silence fell over the battlefield. Chin lowered her rifle, her chest heaving. For a long moment she simply stood there, staring at the fallen predator. Then, slowly she turned to her team. "It's done," she said, her voice hoarse. The galaxy's apex predator is dead. A cheer erupted from the team, a mix of relief and triumph. Marks approached, a weary grin on his face. I thought you were crazy, Commander. But I should have known better. Chin managed a faint smile. Humans don't quit, Marks. Not when it matters. Above them, the resolute Dawn transmitted the news to the Galactic Council. Across the galaxy, species who had lived in fear of the Shrenthal beast received the same message. The monster was dead. Humanity had done what no other civilization could. In the council chamber, Overseer Kralik sat in stunned silence as the holographic image of the dead beast was displayed. Around him, murmurs of awe and fear rippled through the room. They actually did it, Trelith, the Zerath ambassador, whispered, his emerald scales dull with shock. Kralik's mandibles clicked nervously. Humans are more dangerous than we imagined. Back on Zyron 5, Chin looked out over the jungle, her expression unreadable. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, seeing them as fragile newcomers. Now they would see the truth. As her team prepared for extraction, a faint vibration hummed through the air. Chin turned toward the sound, her instincts on high alert. Far in the distance, the treetops trembled and a deep, resonant roar echoed through the jungle. Another predator. Chin smirked, slinging her rifle over her shoulder. Looks like the galaxy isn't done testing us yet. With that, she walked toward the dropship, humanity's next hunt already on the horizon.